Good morning. Today I wanted to have coffee in a little bit different way. Today we're going to make a pour-over coffee. But before we do that, I wanted to tell you a quick story. When I started seminary, I moved up to Evanston, Illinois. It's a suburb just north of Chicago to go to seminary. And when I was up there, I was a full-time student. I moved into an apartment that was owned by the seminary. And it was a three-story apartment building. The second and third floors, those were apartments. The first floor, all along the street, those were restaurants and shops and retail space. It was kind of a neat little setup. My apartment was on the second floor and I was facing the street. My apartment happened to be right over a coffee shop. It was called the Coffee Lab. I moved in and it was just a locally owned, just a little place right there. And I noticed when I moved in that they had a sign in their window that said that they were hiring. Well, I was a full-time graduate student in seminary, and I was just looking for a little part-time job, just something to have a little extra spending money to be able to go and do things with friends on the weekends and enjoy my time up there. And so I decided to go in and apply. I turned in my application, they called me back for an interview, and I went in to meet with the owner of this little coffee shop. While I was meeting with him, we began to talk about coffee and all kinds of different things, and finally towards the end of the interview, he asked me, "So what kind of coffee do you like to drink?" And I had to finally admit to him that up until that point in my life, I never drank coffee. It wasn't part of my daily routine. We both kind of laughed about the fact that I was applying to work at a coffee shop, even though I didn't drink coffee. The idea that I would be able to walk downstairs and be at work, and the idea of making coffee, it just sounded like something new and fun, and it was intriguing to me, so that's why I had applied. Well, he ended up hiring me. And I started working as a barista at this little coffee shop up in Chicago. When I started working there, he said, "You're going to have to learn how to drink the coffee so that you know whether you're making it right or not." What I discovered at the Coffee Lab is that they only made coffee by one method, and that was the pour-over method. That's what I wanted to make today. See, the thing about the pour-over method, what made it so different from other coffee shops is doing pour-over coffees, it takes a little while. It's kind of a slower process. You see, we didn't have one of those big brewing machines that just made a big pot of coffee that we could just make big cups of coffee real quick for people as they came through. And the pour-over coffee, it takes time. You grind your beans just right and you get the water to just the right temperature. You put your beans in there and now you just let a little bit of water go through to soak the beans, and it lets some of the gases out of the beans and you can see the bubbles coming up. Then you let it sit for about 30 seconds before you continue to pour the water over it, and slowly the water comes down through the coffee grounds and makes your coffee. It takes about at least 3 minutes per cup of coffee. And what I found working at the Coffee Lab is we had a number of people who were our regular customers, and they would come through every day on their way to work, and we got to be a part of their daily lives and their routines, and it was fun to get to know them. And they knew what to expect when they came to the Coffee Lab. They knew that we only had 3 stations to be making our pour-over coffees. It meant that we could only make 3 cups of coffee at a time. And with each cup taking at least 3 minutes to make, they knew it was going to take a little while, and so they would leave time. But other times we'd have people come by that weren't familiar with us and didn't know about the pour-over method, and they were just looking for that quick fix of caffeine on their way to work, and so oftentimes they might leave disappointed at how long it took, that they weren't able to get their cup of coffee. And so each day we would come and we'd make our pour-over coffees, and I would get to know some of the customers. And what I found in that 3 to 5 minutes or so as I was making those cups of coffee is it gave me a chance to stand there at the counter and to get to talk to people. I got to learn about their lives and their stories. I got to learn about what they did and where they worked and what they were doing. I really got to form relationships with some of the regular customers who would come in. It really became a job that I grew to love. The coffee was fun, and I did learn to love coffee, and now it's a part of my daily habit and daily routines. But it was really the people that I loved. It really was a ministry opportunity as I stood there each day at the coffee counter, making those cups of coffees and doing the pour-overs, spending that time getting to know people. What I came to learn from the Coffee Lab is that so often in life, you and I can be in such a hurry. We're just looking for that quick fix wherever we go and whatever it is that we're doing. And sometimes just taking that 3 to 5 minutes to slow down and talk to one another, really makes a difference in our days and in our lives. What I found working at the coffee lab is that just 3 to 5 minutes every morning, it was a wonderful time for me to get to know people and for them to get to know me, for us to get to talk and really learn about each other's lives and stories, to really get to invest in each other, to care about each other. It wasn't a whole lot of time each day, just 3 to 5 minutes, but it seemed like it made such a difference. Sometimes we need that reminder to just slow down, to really look at one another and talk to each other. Today, I still start my day every day with coffee. And to be honest with you, most days I start with a Keurig. Oftentimes I'm running, trying to get the day started, trying to get Lucy up and ready and off to daycare and getting the first meetings of the day going. I'm in such a hurry that it's easier just to use the Keurig to make a quick cup of coffee. I don't make the pour-over coffees as much as I used to anymore. But occasionally I like to pull out my equipment here and I like to make a pour-over coffee. One, because I think the coffee tastes really good that way. But two, because sometimes it's just a good reminder for me to slow down, to take that extra 3 to 5 minutes, so that whenever I stop and I ask somebody, how are you doing? It's not just a greeting, but it's a reminder to actually care how people are doing, to take time to listen to them, to get to know their stories and their lives. Sometimes our world can be so fast-paced that we need those little reminders to slow down, to enjoy life, to invest in one another and to care about each other, to get to know each other. When we do, I think that sometimes we find that by slowing down and having that pour-over cup of coffee, we find that life can be just a little bit richer, a little bit fuller. So if you ever need that reminder, learn how to make a pour-over coffee. Take that 3 to 5 minutes, make you a great cup of coffee, and remind yourself to slow down and enjoy life to the fullest. I hope you have a great day today.